Hey, it's Mr. Shrum, and welcome back to a biology tutorial. We are going to look at the process of evolution. So at the end of this lesson, by the end of the lesson, we will evaluate the effects of evolutionary mechanisms on the characteristics of current and extinct species. Warm up, what is evolution? Explains how life on Earth diversified. It provides information on how different organisms develop new features and help in the formation of new species. These two images show the evolutionary relationship between humans and chimpanzees. Which chart more accurately depicts the process of evolution? Explain your response. Well, it's image 2. It shows how new species evolve from existing species during evolution. A new species doesn't replace an ancestral species as soon as it evolves. The ancestral species may continue to survive, or it may eventually become extinct. So the second image depicts the process of evolution accurately. Image 1 suggests that primates evolved directly into humans, and that's not how evolution works. This is the more scientific visual. So we have chimps and archaic Homo sapiens. We came from Homo erectus, Homo habilis, and we also have these. We are also related to these extinct ancestors. And the chimps and Homo sapiens today, we exist together at the same time, simultaneously. So we have a common ancestor with the chimps. Introduction. We're going to talk about Charles Darwin. Evolution is a scientific theory that helps explain how species developed and diversified on Earth. If you regularly read science news, you know that evolution is a frequent topic of discussion. For example, geneticists recently discovered that the gene that codes for scorpion venom is similar to the genes that code for a protein in certain insects. This finding suggests a close evolutionary relationship between scorpions and the insects. Now, our modern understanding of evolution is strongly influenced by the research of Charles Darwin. In 1859, he proposed his theory of evolution in the book On the Origin of Species. Let's explore Darwin's theory of evolution and how it shaped modern scientific thought. Here is a sketch of Charles Darwin, and scientists refer to him as the father of evolution. He wasn't the first person to research and describe evolution of organisms, though. In the 18th and 19th centuries, scientists collected and classified fossils at a rapid pace. The growing collection of fossils revealed species changing over time. And at the same time, naturalists proposed theories of how species evolved. Darwin spent many years searching for evidence that would help explain how species evolved through natural selection. Today, major portions of Darwin's theories are considered scientifically sound. Darwin's discoveries. Born in 1809 in Shrewsbury, England, Charles Darwin was a naturalist and a geologist. He studied living things by observing them in their natural habitats. When Darwin was 22 years old, he embarked on a journey around the globe on the HMS Beagle, a British naval vessel. During his 5-year voyage, he collected specimens from different places for his studies. As part of this journey, Darwin made a trip to the Galapagos Islands, a province of Ecuador in northwestern South America. He made a number of amazing discoveries there that led him to conclude that organisms must evolve over time in order to survive. Darwin observed the wildlife of the Galapagos Islands and noticed that several large tortoises inhabited them. The tortoises had shells with two distinct shapes, a dome and a saddle, that helped them each reach certain types of vegetation. Saddleback tortoises lived on an island where vegetation was a little higher than ground level. These tortoises had space between their shell for their long necks, so they could reach their necks in the front. These saddle-shaped shells allowed the tortoises to lift their heads high to reach the vegetation. Domed tortoises lived on a different island. This island had vegetation that was close to the ground, such as grasses and plants. They didn't have space between their necks and shells. They had short necks because they didn't have to raise their heads to reach the vegetation. This is a saddleback tortoise. His neck is longer and there's space between the shell for his neck to move around. This guy is a domed tortoise. He didn't really need to stretch his neck out for his food source. Darwin noticed a similar phenomenon in the finches, which is a type of songbird that lived in the Galapagos Islands. The finches that lived on different islands were similar to each other, but the shapes and sizes of their beaks were different depending on the types of food they ate. You see how these are larger, maybe a mix, smaller, and pointier. Darwin shared specimens of the birds he found on the Galapagos Islands with John Gould, a famous ornithologist. Gould identified the birds as finches belonging to different species. Gould also determined that these finches did not exist anywhere else in South America. However, they closely resembled some of the species on the mainland. Darwin suspected that a particular group of finches from the mainland must have migrated to the Galapagos Islands. They must have undergone physical changes in order to adapt to the new surroundings, eventually developing into different species. These observations helped form the basis of Darwin's research. The theory of natural selection. Darwin wanted to confirm whether species could change over the course of time. He consulted pigeon breeders to check whether a species possessed the ability to change over time when introduced to new environments. The breeders asserted that it was possible for them to choose the desired traits to be present in future generations by allowing the mating of pigeons with desirable characteristics. The resulting offspring possessed the required features and could possibly change the look of the population over time. This process is called artificial selection because humans are selecting which traits they want to see. Darwin proposed that if breeders could perform artificial selection, then the selection of traits could also happen naturally. He believed that the finches had one common ancestor, as suggested by their similar features, but changes in the environment led the finches to evolve in different ways. And they evolved different characteristics that helped them survive. He proposed the same theory for the tortoises. Through observations, he inferred that organisms underwent physical changes to adapt to their surroundings. The fact that genes are responsible for variations was established after Darwin's death. He didn't know about genes as we do now, but he did think of traits as inherited characteristics. While studying such variations, Darwin proposed the theory of natural selection. So once again, this is tracing back to a common ancestor from South American mainland. And that developed into these several different species of finches. Or, variations of finches. There we go. The theory of natural selection states four main characteristics of traits. One, different individuals in a population can show variations in a particular trait. Two, these variations can be inherited by the offspring. Three, the individuals may give rise to more offspring than could possibly survive. Four, the variations that increase the organism's chances to successfully reach adulthood and reproduce may have a greater probability of being passed down to further generations. The trait for long necks in giraffes enabled them to survive and was passed on to future generations. Variations can be observed as adaptations in organisms. Adaptations are behavioral or physical characteristics that evolve from one generation to another and help the organism survive in its surroundings. The theory of natural selection states that organisms with traits that help them adapt to their environment are more likely to reproduce and pass on their traits. A duck has webbed feet, and that's an adaptation that helped them swim in water. All right, so testing your understanding. All organisms have natural adaptations to help them survive in their environment. Choose one plant or animal. Be as specific as possible with your choice. For example, choose a three-toed sloth instead of just a sloth. So you want to be very specific about what type of animal. What are three adaptations this organism has? Research the plant or animal online if needed. And here are some sample answers. The great white shark's coloring, blue-gray on the top, white on the bottom, provides camouflage. Looking down on the shark, the blue-gray color blends in with the water. Looking up at the shark, the white color blends in with the sunlight from above. The great white shark's torpedo-shaped body helps it cut through the water at speeds up to 35 miles per hour. This great speed allows the shark to charge its prey and to travel quickly in search of prey. The great white shark has rows of triangular serrated teeth. The lower teeth stab and hold prey, while the upper teeth tear the prey. And we'll stop there before we discuss the evidence for evolution and natural selection. But until next time, have a great day, and I will see you later.